they go back to the bones of their dead. Years later, sometimes decades, they arrive. They stand. They touch the skull with their trunk. And they go silent. Scientists have recorded this hundreds of times, and to this day they cannot fully explain why this particular animal does this particular thing. The elephant is the only animal on the planet, besides humans, that behaves this way around the remains of its own kind. Not instinct. Not coincidence. Something else. Today we're talking about elephants. Not the ones you've seen behind glass at a zoo. The real ones, what happens inside a herd when no humans are around, how they speak to each other in sounds we are physically incapable of hearing, and why scientists are now seriously asking whether elephants possess self-awareness. Stay until the end. Somewhere near the middle there's a single fact that, once you hear it, will change the way you look at an elephant forever. I'll be honest, when I first came across it, I checked it against 3 separate sources. I didn't believe it on the first read. Let's start with size. Because an elephant isn't simply a large animal. It's a different scale of existence entirely. The African savanna elephant is the largest land animal on Earth. Males can grow up to 4 meters at the shoulder and weigh 6 to 7 tons. For comparison, that's the equivalent of stacking 4 ordinary cars on top of each other, except this is a living creature that breathes, feels, and remembers. There are 3 species of elephant. The African savanna elephant is the largest. The African forest elephant is somewhat smaller, lives in the jungles of Central Africa, and for a long time was classified as a subspecies of the savanna elephant. It was only in 2010 that geneticists confirmed it as a fully separate species. The third is the Asian elephant, living across South and Southeast Asia, noticeably smaller than its African relatives, with distinctly smaller ears compared to the enormous sail-like ears of the African species. Those ears are not decoration. They are a thermoregulation system. Inside an African elephant's ear is a dense network of blood vessels. When it's hot, the elephant slowly fans its ears, the blood cools at the surface, and returns to the body already cooler. A living radiator. Engineers have actually studied this system when designing heat exchangers. The trunk is its own story entirely, a fusion of the nose and the upper lip, containing around 150,000 individual muscle units and not a single bone. The trunk can lift a 350-kilogram log and, in the same minute, pick up a single coin off the ground. An elephant drinks through its trunk, drawing up to 15 liters of water in one motion and delivering it to its mouth. It breathes through it, smells through it, touches, hugs, threatens, and greets with it. An elephant's sense of smell is among the sharpest of any animal on the planet. In 2014, scientists sequenced the elephant genome and found roughly 2,000 genes dedicated to smell. For comparison, humans have around 400, and dogs have around 800. An elephant can detect water from several kilometers away. It can smell a human and determine, from the scent of their clothing, whether that person is dangerous. The skin looks thick and rough, and it is, up to 2.5 centimeters in places, yet remarkably sensitive. An elephant can feel the bite of an insect through it. That's exactly why elephants constantly bathe in mud, not just habit, but protection from sun and insects. A layer of dried mud functions as natural sunscreen and armor at the same time. The teeth are a mechanism unto themselves. Tusks are enlarged incisors that grow throughout the animal's entire life. In old males they can reach 3 meters in length and weigh up to 100 kilograms each. But tusks aren't used for chewing. For that, elephants have molars, and here is one of the most remarkable facts in mammalian biology. Over its lifetime, an elephant goes through 6 full sets of molars. Not 2, like humans, 6. When one set wears down, the next moves forward to replace it, like a conveyor belt. When the 6th and final set wears out, the elephant can no longer chew. It stops eating. And it dies. Not from disease. Not from a predator. From the simple wearing down of its teeth. I'll be honest, this stopped me. I read it and just sat there for a few seconds, because it means an elephant's lifespan is, quite literally, determined by how fast its teeth wear out. A biological clock that doesn't count years, it counts chewing motions. Elephants live to 60 or 70 years in the wild. Females live longer than males. And the older an elephant gets, the more important it becomes to the herd. But more on that shortly, because the social life of elephants is an entirely different world, structured nothing like most people assume. Elephants communicate, and that communication is far more complex than the trumpeting roar everyone has heard. Most elephant communication happens in the infrasound range, below 20 Hz, below the threshold of human hearing. We are physically incapable of hearing it. Elephants can. And not only through their ears. Infrasound vibrations travel through the ground for tens of kilometers, and elephants receive them through the soft pads of their feet, where specialized receptors are located, and through the bones of the skull when they lower their heads to the earth. Herds separated by several kilometers can communicate in real time without a single sound audible to a human. Researchers have learned to record these signals with specialized equipment and discovered that elephants have specific signals: alarm calls, I'm here calls, greeting calls, threat calls. A vocabulary. Not just a collection of sounds, a genuine vocabulary with consistent meanings. Elephants recognize each other by voice, and not only within their own herd. They remember the voices of elephants from other herds they crossed paths with years earlier. In one experiment, researchers played back a recording of a deceased female elephant's voice near a former herd. The reaction was immediate. The elephants turned toward the sound and began making response calls. Several individuals moved toward the source. They remembered her voice, years after her death. And this is where the part one warned you about at the beginning truly begins, because what follows is about how elephants relate to death. This is not a metaphor. It is not anthropomorphizing an animal. This is recorded, documented, repeating behavior that scientists have observed again and again, and still cannot fully explain. When an elephant dies within a herd, the herd does not simply move on. They remain near the body, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. They touch the body with their trunks, the face, the tusks, the legs. The matriarch stands closest of all. Silent. This is not animals failing to understand what happened. This is not confusion. The behavior is too directed, too repetitive, too similar to what we ourselves do when we lose someone close. Elephants attempt to lift the dead, with their trunks, with their tusks, again and again. Researchers have observed a mother trying to lift her dead calf for several days, walking alongside the herd and returning to the body over and over. When the herd finally leaves, they often cover the body with branches, earth, leaves, not completely, but deliberately, intentionally. And that's still not the most striking part. The most striking part is that they return. Months later. Years later. Passing the place where a member of their kind died, the herd slows down. Stops. The elephants approach the bones, touching them with their trunks, especially the skull and the tusks, as if trying to identify, to remember. Researchers ran an experiment. They laid out 3 objects in front of elephants: an elephant bone, a piece of wood, and the bone of a different animal. Time after time, the elephants chose the elephant bone. They approached it specifically, touched it longer, and returned to it. No one knows exactly why. Do they recognize a specific individual by the scent of the bone? Do they feel something for which we simply don't have a word? One researcher wrote, cautiously, in scientific language, that elephants demonstrate an interest in the remains of their own species that is not characteristic of other animals, with the exception of humans. With the exception of humans. I'll be honest, when I read that line, I just stopped. Because that's not poetry. That's a sentence from a peer-reviewed scientific paper. Elephants pass the self-awareness test, the classic mirror test, in which a mark is placed on an animal's body and researchers observe whether it notices the mark in its own reflection. Chimpanzees pass. Dolphins pass. Crows pass, with some caveats. Elephants pass. A female elephant named Happy, at the Bronx Zoo in 2006, noticed a white cross painted on her own forehead by researchers and began touching it with her trunk while looking in the mirror. She understood that the reflection was her. That's a very short list of species, and the elephant is on it. Elephants show empathy, and not metaphorically, literally. When a member of the herd is distressed or injured, other elephants approach, touch it, and make soft sounds. Researchers call this consolation behavior. It has been documented in only a handful of species, some primates, dogs, ravens, and elephants. Elephants help injured members of their kind, pull stuck individuals free, support weakened animals during river crossings. In several documented cases, elephants have helped animals of entirely different species, pulling out stuck rhinos, stepping off a path to let an injured buffalo pass. There's a story I can't leave out. In 2003, a matriarch named Eleanor, one of the elders of a herd in Amboseli National Park in Kenya, collapsed. She was old and ill. A female elephant from a different herd, named Grace, no relation, simply an elephant who happened to be nearby, immediately approached. Grace tried to lift Eleanor with her trunk, propping her up with her own body. Eleanor stood for a moment, then collapsed again. Grace stayed by her side until dark. Eleanor died that night. Over the following day, elephants from 5 different herds came to her body, in separate groups, stood, touched her, and left. This is not a story someone made up. It was published in the journal Biology Letters, with names, dates, coordinates. Most people simply don't know about it. Elephants and humans have known each other a long time, a very long time, and from the very beginning, this relationship has been unequal. The earliest evidence of keeping Asian elephants in captivity dates back to around 2500 BCE, in the Indus Valley, where seals depicting elephants in harness have been found. That means people were taming elephants before most of the cities we today call ancient were even built. Domestication isn't quite the right word, though. Elephants were never bred as a controlled species the way horses or dogs were. They were captured young from the wild, after the adults protecting them were killed or driven off, and then broken, literally. The process, called Fajan in Thai, involved days of forced sleep deprivation, starvation, and physical restraint, aimed at destroying the animal's independent will. This was practiced for 1,000 years, and in some places, it still is. Elephants were used in warfare. Alexander the Great encountered Persian King Darius's war elephants at the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BCE. Greek horses refused to charge them. The smell, the size, the sound caused panic among the cavalry. Alexander found a way around it, attacking the elephants from the flanks, targeting their legs, setting fires, but the impression remained. He later kept war elephants of his own after his campaign in India. Hannibal crossed the Alps with 37 war elephants in 218 BCE, one of the most famous military maneuvers in history, through snow-covered passes, in conditions these animals were never built for. Most of the elephants died en route or shortly after. One, named Surus, likely the only African forest elephant in that campaign, made it to Italy and survived several battles. Hannibal himself rode him. In India, war elephants remained part of the army well into the 17th and 18th centuries. Mughal emperors kept thousands of war elephants. Akbar the Great personally took part in battles riding one. This wasn't exotic novelty, it was military doctrine. Elephants were used as living battering rams to break fortifications, as moving platforms for archers, and as psychological weapons. The mere sight of an advancing elephant could break an enemy's formation more effectively than any tactic. Romans used elephants in their arenas, a separate and grim chapter. At the Colosseum, elephants were forced to fight gladiators, other animals, armed men. Pliny the Elder described an elephant, fatally wounded in the arena, crawling toward the spectators, not attacking, but seemingly pleading. The crowd, according to Pliny, fell silent for the first time during the entire performance, even a Roman crowd. Before we move to the final part, there's something that can't be skipped, because this story has another side: people who don't kill elephants, but protect them, and what happens between them and the elephants is no less remarkable than anything else in this story. At Amboseli National Park in Kenya, a research station has operated for decades, observing the same elephant families for more than 50 years, knowing them by name, knowing their histories, their personalities, their relationships. Over the years, researchers there have documented something that once seemed impossible for science: elephant personalities. Not behavioral patterns, actual personalities. One female known for exceptional tolerance toward calves from other families. Another known for aggressive reactions to any stranger. A third with a tendency toward curiosity about new objects, an almost childlike inquisitiveness that never faded with age. This isn't projection. It's the product of decades of observation, thousands of hours of recorded data. Researchers there have watched elephants they studied be born, and watched them die, some from poachers, some from old age, recording the herd's reaction each time. At a reserve called Thula Thula in South Africa, the owner agreed in 1999 to take in 9 elephants slated for destruction due to aggressive behavior. The herd broke through fencing several times. The owner began staying near them at night, talking to them, simply being present, calm, without threat. Gradually, the elephants settled. They stayed. That owner died of a heart attack in March 2012. 2 days after his death, 2 herds of elephants, the very ones he had saved, arrived at his house, coming from different parts of the reserve. They hadn't approached the house in over a year before that. They arrived 2 days after his death, stood by the house for 2 days, and then left. How they knew, no one knows. His son later wrote about it in a published account. The fact is documented. I don't know what it means. Scientists don't know either. But it happened. There are people who have dedicated their lives to helping traumatized elephants recover. In Kenya, an organization called the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust takes in orphan calves, those whose mothers were killed by poachers, or who fell into wells, or got separated during droughts, and raises them from their earliest days. This is extraordinarily difficult. A calf under a year old cannot survive without its mother, neither physically nor psychologically. The milk formula took years to develop. Ordinary milk kills calves. They need a special formula with coconut oil instead of dairy fat. But it's not only about nutrition. Orphan calves need physical contact around the clock. Caretakers sleep beside them, literally in the same room, on the floor, rotating every night so the calf doesn't bond too strongly with one single person and suffer when that person leaves, because calves can die from grief. That's not a metaphor. It's a documented medical fact. The stress of separation in elephant calves causes physiological breakdowns incompatible with life. As the calves grow, they are gradually reintegrated into wild herds, a process that can take more than 10 years. Former orphans sometimes return to visit the humans who raised them, now fully grown, sometimes bringing their own calves to show them. One caretaker described a female elephant he had raised 20 years earlier arriving at the base with a newborn calf, stopping at a distance, and as he approached, allowing him to touch the baby. A deliberate, conscious choice. Let's go back to the start. To the bones. An elephant is walking across the savannah. It has passed this way before, long ago, maybe 10 years, maybe 15. Someone from the herd died here once. Bones remain. The herd slows. Stops. The elephants approach, one by one, touch the bones with their trunks, go silent. Then they leave. We have witnessed this hundreds of times. We have filmed it. Described it in papers. Discussed it at conferences. And we still cannot answer the central question: what is happening inside? What does a creature with a 5-kilogram brain, with a hippocampus that holds memories across decades, feel while standing over the bones of someone it once knew alive? Is there an image there? Is there something resembling what we call memory, what we call loss? Science honestly answers, we don't know. But here is what we do know for certain. The elephant is the only land animal whose brain, in absolute terms, is heavier than a human's. The only animal besides us that buries its dead. The only one that returns to remains. The only one in which consolation behavior has been documented in something resembling the sense it exists in us. The only one that paints, that imitates sounds, that recognizes itself in a mirror, that remembers the voice of a deceased relative years after its death. We're used to thinking of animals as creatures living only in the present, without a past, without a future, without an inner life. It's a convenient idea. It allows us not to think too hard about what happens to an elephant in a circus, or in a petting zoo, or in the moment a poacher shoots a matriarch while her calf stands beside her. But the elephant doesn't fit that idea. It breaks it. What struck me most about this entire subject, honestly, wasn't any single fact. It was the overall feeling that emerges once you put everything together: memory, grief, empathy, self-awareness, tools, language, the return to the bones. At what point does a collection of biological facts become something more? At what point do we stop saying behavior and start saying experience? I don't know the answer. I suspect no one does. But the fact that the question even arises already means something. There's one number I want to leave you with, not for statistics, but for scale. When a matriarch with 50 years of memory dies, the knowledge that disappears with her exists nowhere else. Not in any book, not in any database. Only in her mind, where the water was during the drought of 1987, which people are dangerous, which route is safe. That knowledge existed for 50 years, and vanishes in a second. Every year, roughly 20,000 elephants die in Africa. That's not just 20,000 animals. That's 20,000 libraries. 20,000 stories. 20,000 beings, each of which remembered something that exists nowhere else now. The elephant outlived the mammoth. Outlived the saber-toothed tiger. Outlived several ice ages. It walked beside humans for 5,000 years, through wars, through construction sites, through circuses, along the roads of India, carrying kings and gods on its back. And right now, somewhere, one of them is standing over the bones of one of its own, touching the skull with its trunk, silent. And somewhere a few kilometers away, there's a man with a rifle who wants the tusks, and a person with a camera trying to preserve something. And somewhere in Nairobi, a woman who has spent 50 years looking at the same savanna knows every elephant by name. 3 different answers to one question: what makes something a being that perhaps feels more than we're willing to admit? Just an elephant. Just the largest animal on land. Just standing over bones, and saying nothing.